What's up, guys, and welcome to my vlog.
Welcome to my vlog. Welcome to my vlog. Welcome to my vlog. It's PJ's vlog. Yeah.
So, guys, it's been a couple weeks since I posted my last video. I've been super busy. I've been networking, meeting people, getting really connected to the Baltimore developer community, and I've actually been fortunate enough to get a couple interviews and just seem to be making a lot of traction in my job search. I'll be posting some videos about networking in general, like my idea of it and like kind of my mentality around it, as well as a video just talking about how I've been going about on my career hunt and like kind of what I've experienced so far as a bootcamp grad and a Flatiron bootcamp grad specifically as well. But yeah, thanks for all the questions about that. I've been really busy, so I apologize for like not being able to post videos, but I should be posting videos as well as I'm doing it. So with that being said, there was a question I got a couple weeks ago from Micah Kof, not sure. He says, "Congratulations on graduating. I'm starting Flatiron come August. Have any advice to get ready for it and getting through the bootcamp the best way possible?" And Micah, let me tell you something right here, man. Right now, my friend, I do have some advice for you and for other potential Flatiron students, or even just regular or other bootcamp students might be applicable too. So with that being said, let's jump in to my tips right now. So as far as preparing for Flatiron School, I talked about this pretty in depth in my my video where it's like 1 month into Flatiron and 3 tips or whatever. So you can check that out. I'll try to link to it in these corners, whatever. But if I can't jump to the exact moment in the video, it is at the 8:23 mark in the video. So check that out. See more in detail what I'm about to talk about right here. So basically, the main things I did to prepare for Flatiron was to do the Flatiron Bootcamp Prep course, and also I did the Colt Steel Web Developer Program on Udemy. So for the Flatiron Bootcamp Prep course, that basically helped me to, first of all, know if I liked Flatiron and if I liked their teaching like style and ecosystem. And it made me just really familiar with all the tools that they had, like the Ask a Question feature, Slack, the community, and on top of all that, what I didn't know going into it, but what I really recommend is once you complete that course, that prep course, or even just like part of it, a lot of those lessons will count directly towards once you start the real bootcamp program. So like when I started the bootcamp, the real one, I think all of the Ruby section, like the just plain Ruby section, was completed for me, the procedural Ruby part, and a lot of the HTML and CSS as well as a lot of the JavaScript stuff. So I highly recommend doing that. It'll give you a head start, and it'll just like prime your brain to like start thinking in that way, like as a developer, kind of breaking down things, and it'll teach you how to debug too. You'll get familiar with debugging your code a little bit. As far as the Udemy course, I did that to prime my brain as well, to get familiar concepts or similar concepts kind of primed in my brain. So once I saw them in the Flatiron course, I was a little bit more ready to receive that knowledge, if you will. The Udemy course that I did, the Colt Steel program, the technologies are slightly different. It's the mean stack as opposed to like Ruby on Rails. So it was MongoDB, Express, Angular, I think that's what A stands for, and Node.js. They're similar, but they're different. But at the same time, like it's good for me. It was good for me to get like kind of two sides of the same sort of like technology and how to like make a simple, blog or CRUD application or whatever using the mean stack and using Ruby on Rails, and see how they relate. So that gave me a really good foundation going into Flatiron School. And I went through that course kind of quickly. I wasn't trying to get like a super solid understanding of everything. I just wanted to, expose myself to these concepts. So it worked really well for me. And those are like the two main things I did to prepare for Flatiron School. Just kind of going back, the bootcamp prep course and the accelerated bootcamp prep course, I believe, they probably helped a lot in like being accepted into the Flatiron program. I think the main, oh my gosh, what was that? Huh? Anyway, what the? Somebody talking. Can they hear me talking? It's like every time I talk, they cut me off. Okay. So, for the bootcamp prep courses, Flatiron School, I think they just really want to see that you just loves coding and that you can kind of do it. You kind of understand it. Just kind of thinking from their perspective, they want to accept students who will be successful and will kind of make them look pretty good afterwards. And they want students who will learn to code well and love to code. And I think by doing the Flatiron the prep courses, you're really showing them that you're really committed to this and that you're also capable of doing this. So highly recommend doing it. Just in terms of getting a better chance of getting accepted into the Flatiron program. The online curriculum is significantly easier to get into from what I understand and what I've seen. But I'm sure the same idea goes for the in-person course. Like, I guess even more so, you have to differentiate yourself. So by doing whatever you can to separate yourself from the rest of the pack, it's definitely a good thing. Okay, and what the heck is going on? There's literally a little child sitting in the driver's seat on the lap of his grandma, and he's just honking the horn outside. Anyway, so now that was kind of a long-winded, short discussion on what I already talked about before, and now I'm going to talk about some tips that I have for when you're actually in the Flatiron program and when you're doing it, and just kind of how to, like Micah asks, how to go through it the best way possible, in my opinion. So, for me, one of the biggest things that I kind of had to step back and realize and remember was the big picture idea of, like, what is the goal of this program, right? So the goal for me when I first started the program was, honestly, it was just like to finish up the program as fast as possible, as cheap as possible, and get into the industry. And that was still the goal in the end, but the bigger goal was to go through the program, learn well, and be set up so that I can make an impact on the industry, enter the industry, hit the ground running, and be a great developer on whatever team that I end up on, in the professional setting. That was my goal. I know some people go through this as with hopes of like doing freelance work or like being their own boss or starting their own company, and it still applies. Like you want to go through the program and have a great understanding and become a great developer, not just go through the program as quick as possible and like check it off. So once I had that mentality, that switch in my mentality, I really sort of stopped like trying to push myself to just like finish as many labs as possible in a day or read as many articles in a day with just like not really getting the best understanding. Yeah, that's kind of like a big meta tip, not super like detailed, but that's kind of going to frame all these other tips that I talk about coming up. So, first real tip, I guess, is take notes. Take notes and draw diagrams, do whatever you have to do to really break down concepts and see how everything kind of fits together. So I actually have a couple of notebooks here. This is my first one, my cool pen loop. And I just took a bunch of notes. I didn't really write through the whole thing, but this is where it ended. This is all notes. Let's just turn a random page. So we got nested forms. What else do we have here? We got object relational mappers. We got modules and like inheritance and super and all these like Ruby module stuff. Ruby classes, associations and databases. Anyway, that was one notebook. And I kind of, when I got to like some more JavaScript stuff, I jumped to this notebook and I wrote more notes. Right there. That's all notes. This is like React and Redux stuff. So, yeah, I took notes and I broke it down. And I was able to kind of slow down when I needed to and take some notes when something wasn't making sense. Or even if it was, I just try to go back and kind of rewrite it in my own words to really solidify my understanding. On that same note, don't like, Flatiron School, it's going to teach you stuff. It's supposed to teach you things. It's supposed to make you really understand the concepts. But at the same time, don't be afraid to look outside of Flatiron for other like learning resources to to bolster and to kind of like add to your understanding. So a lot of times I would get stuck on a concept that the Flatiron explanation wasn't like doing it for me, and I had to go to I had to like Google the concepts and like go to a different blog post or something, and then I would go and see how that kind of connected with the Flatiron stuff. I would take notes on it, and then it usually would click together. I don't know. I feel like some people it's understandable when you're paying a lot of money for these boot camps, and you're expecting them to teach you all the concepts, but at the same time, like, sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you need some other sort of explanation or some other perspective in order to get better understanding. Next tip is related to understanding and grasping concepts, and that is don't get super caught up in like making sure you're like a total master of all of these concepts before you move in and start your portfolio projects. So the portfolio projects are like they're pretty like open-ended. They just say like, hey, you have to make a CRUD app using Sinatra. You have to have like 5 routes or whatever. So it's pretty broad, and within that like box, you can do whatever you want. So I found that by just having a decent grasp of the concepts and the basics of the concepts going into these projects, I learned how to use the technologies and these concepts much better when I was like tinkering around and making my own project from the ground up and kind of breaking it and like seeing what if I change this, what happens to my app. Like that really helped everything kind of come together and click for me. And yeah, I would say try to get as good of an understanding as you can to get your project started. But you'll find that once you start your project and start building things, that you're gonna like learn a lot more about how to use the actual technology. Next tip, speaking about projects still, I would say in your projects, push yourself. Push yourself in your portfolio projects. Don't just do the minimum that's required to get the project done. Do something that actually you would use as well, something that's useful to you and interesting to you. It'll help you to explain better your project to your instructor, and it will also help you in the long run when you're interviewing for stuff, and like you have to talk about, hey, like when the interview says like, hey, tell me about this project, why'd you build it, blah blah blah. You can be like, oh, I built this because I actually use it, I actually do this stuff, and I think that's like that reflects well on you. So yeah, challenge yourself, push yourself on these portfolio projects, and don't be afraid to go beyond the requirements. At the same time, do not get stuck like adding billions of features on this project and taking like weeks and weeks and weeks. Just get the project to the point where it's functional and it's something that you would actually be proud to show people, and it still passes the requirements. But like understand that like you don't have to like build the most elaborate project right now. You can just build something that you can pass, and that you're proud of, and then you can always come back later after the program or whatever and add more to your project, so that you're not wasting time and like paying more for the curriculum when you can move on. Hope that makes sense. Okay, next tip I kind of talked about in my 3 tips and the 1 month in video, but it is pace yourself. I think it's important that you take breaks. You like allow your mind to rest and recover. I did breaks throughout the day. I've set a like timer on my app, on my phone app or whatever, where like it has like break intervals throughout the day, and that really helped me to just like decompress a lot. And I would find that if I'm struggling through a concept one day, if I get a good rest, somehow the next morning it's just like it makes sense, or I have a better understanding somehow, or like I think of something that I didn't think about the day before. So yeah, just make sure you're pushing yourself as well, but make sure you're pacing yourself and you're giving yourself time to rest. So this next tip is kind of it's kind of subjective. Like if you are trying to finish the program quickly, I would say push yourself to really challenge yourself and grow and struggle through these concepts, and like set goals, set like timelines that you're trying to meet, some checkpoints that you're trying to meet to keep yourself accountable and keep yourself on track. That's what I did. I tried to match pace with the in-person curriculum and the in-person students in general, like a 15-week timeline. And that really helped me to know when I could speed up on something, when I could slow down on something. And yeah, in general, just helped me to really focus on pushing myself to complete the program in a timely manner. A lot of students don't have that need, so they're taking their time. They're taking their time, or they're doing this part-time or whatever. And that's something else that people do, but I didn't do that, so I can't really put any advice in that. Yeah. Okay, next tip is be a part of the community. And that means contributing to the community, contributing to the Slack chats, helping people when they need to be helped, and also go to the Slack channels if you need help too. As well as like the ask a question tools and all that stuff. But don't be afraid to contribute to the community, ask questions, and all that stuff. And just make friends, like online friends who you can kind of go to if you need help, or if they need help, they can go to you. It's a big part of the experience, and I highly recommend it. On that same kind of topic, for the labs and everything, the whole curriculum is open source, and it's available to kind of give feedback, and you can like directly contribute to it. So I really recommend, like, if you see an issue with the lab, raise an issue in GitHub, like share it with people, make sure people know about it, and like really try to help make the curriculum better for future students. That's one of the things that I really kind of benefited from, was past students who helped make the curriculum better. And that's why that's one of the great things about Flatiron, is they're continually improving and like taking feedback from students and improving their curriculum. So be a part of that. Okay, so my last tip here, it might be controversial a little bit, but it goes back to the idea of like, the goal of Flatiron is to become a great developer. It's not to become the best Flatiron student ever, or like the quickest Flatiron student to like graduate ever, which was kind of my goal, sort of, in the beginning. But anyway, my last tip is like, don't get super stuck on a lab. Like, when you come to a lab, like, and you don't know the answer, wrestle with it, struggle through it, and do your best. But at the same time, like, don't get stuck on it for like a week. Ask for people for help. At the same time, don't be afraid to look at the solution if you need to. The solutions are like readily available on the GitHub page of the labs. There's a branch, solution branch. So look at the solution if you need to, but make sure when you look at the solution that you understand what is happening. Don't just look at it, copy and paste it into your IDE, and then like run the test and pass, and then move on. You have to understand what's going on. And a lot of times I would have to do that, and then the concepts would finally click in my mind, and then I could better easily apply that in the future. Or sometimes I would look at the solution, and then I would like totally restart the lab again from scratch, and then do it myself without looking at the solution or whatever. And along the same lines of checking the solution, sometimes you need to check, like, if a lab isn't making sense or working correctly, don't be afraid to like look at the issues that have been raised on that lab. There might be some issues that have been raised that haven't been completed or fixed yet, and so the lab might not necessarily work exactly like it's supposed to, which kind of sucks. But yeah, you just gotta look and see what kind of obstacles are in your way for that lab that shouldn't be there, and you might trip up on them for like weeks or whatever, or a couple days, and you find out it's like a simple typo in the tests or something like that. And yeah, you would have been able to avoid that if you just checked the issues first. So guys, that's all the tips I have. Not super organized, but I just wanted to share those with you guys. And let me know if you guys have any questions on those, or any other specific questions on the curriculum. I'd love to answer them. And if you need any more clarification on something that I mentioned just now, hit me up on that as well, and I will, I'm sure some other people might have the same question, so I might post a video about that. I might just like reply to your comment or whatever. But yeah, keep an eye out for some other videos coming out soon about networking and my career hunt. And I'm actually going to be doing a talk at a local meetup about my Flatiron experience overall. And I'll be recording that and probably posting that on here, and that will just be kind of like my final impressions / review, I guess, of Flatiron. So keep an eye out for that. That might be coming out late next week. I highly recommend Flatiron for anybody who's interested. Spoiler for my review video, but yeah, I think it's a great program. I think it really set me up well to get into the industry. And yeah, these are just some tips that I would recommend if you're interested in going through the program as well. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.